Okay, let's unpack this. We often think of travel as, just getting from A to B, covering distance.
Right, it's functional usually.
Exactly. But what if a road trip could be something? Well, much more than that. What if it turned into a journey through, like, time, through a nation's history, its feelings, its whole identity?
That's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
And it's precisely what we're diving into today, isn't it?
It is. We've got this really remarkable account of a journey, a road trip from Asmara to Nakfa in Eritrea,
Hmm.
and the timing is crucial. It's happening right on the eve of Independence Day, a hugely significant national holiday there.
That context changes everything. It elevates
It
it.
really does. It shifts it from what the travelers thought was just a routine assignment
Right.
into something deeply personal, really insightful. That's like a firsthand look into Eritrea's spirit, its unity.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how that simple journey, that A to B trip, can just blossom into this profound narrative about, well, a nation's soul.
Mm.
So for you, our listener, this deep dive, it's really about uncovering a few things. How landscapes aren't just scenery, how they actually tell stories.
The whole history.
Exactly, bearing the marks of history, the spirit of the people. And we'll explore how these incredibly diverse cultures to different ethnic groups, how they come together for a common purpose.
Celebrating together, but in their own ways.
Precisely. Celebrating shared identity while, cherishing their unique heritage. And maybe most importantly, we'll try to get a feel for what it truly means for a nation to find its strength through struggle, through immense struggle, and also through celebration.
And the source we're drawing on today, it's a very personal account, isn't it? A travelogue.
It is very vivid. It gives us this unique sort of intimate window into these themes. You can almost feel the anticipation, the pride in the air described in the account.
Yeah, you really can. So let's start at the beginning. The journey kicks off with the traveler, Simon Weldemikael, and his colleague, Dr. Sige Madinen. They're heading out from Asmara, the capital, towards Nakfa. And as you said, what was meant to be a routine job, well, the timing immediately signals something else is going on.
The eve of Independence Day is charged.
Absolutely. And they describe that initial landscape leaving Asmara. The capital's got this relatively pleasant weather, higher altitude.
Moderate climate.
But as they travel north, that changes. You can almost feel it through their words. The comfortable climate starts to give way to rolling hills first, and then the really intense heat of the Sahel.
That's a huge shift. The Sahelian climate is notoriously harsh.
It really is. It highlights the the dramatic environmental contrasts within Eritrea itself, even on one trip.
Yeah.
And they mention the constant hum of the car engine, but it wasn't just noise. It says it blended with this growing excitement in the air.
So the journey itself had a soundtrack of anticipation.
Exactly, like this immersive sensory thing going on right from the start.
And it seems that feeling wasn't just in the car, right? The account says it was everywhere they looked.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the first big observations.
The source emphasizes that every town and village they passed, doesn't matter how small, even tiny roadside settlements, was just brimming with anticipation.
Not just isolated pockets.
No, pervasive, contagious. You have to picture the scene they describe.
Mm-hmm.
The sound of drums, patriotic songs echoing, streets decorated with flags, Eritrean flags fluttering everywhere. It's not just putting up decorations, it's this deep shared expression of joy, of national pride.
And even in the smallest places.
Right, even in those small roadside settlements, they see children waving flags, dancing with this, pure enthusiasm. It reflects, as the text says, the pride of a nation that had fought for its freedom.
It's powerful.
It really is. And this observation right at the start, it's so crucial. It immediately tells you this isn't just about driving miles.
It's cultural, emotional.
Totally. It's an immersion into a national feeling, a collective pre-celebration that just sets this incredibly strong tone for the rest of the journey. It shows that independence, the spirit of it, it's embedded. It's not just an anniversary.
It's a living identity.
Yes. You see it in the small gestures in remote places, in the kids' excitement. It points to a unity that goes beyond geography, doesn't it?
It really does. And carrying on from that, they make a stop in Karen, described as having lively streets.
Still buzzing with that same energy, presumably.
Exactly. And Karen itself is historically significant too, isn't it? A key battleground during the liberation struggle.
Absolutely. So even a brief stop there adds another layer of meaning, even if it's unspoken.
Right. But after Karen, the physical journey changes again. The account says the terrain gradually became rugged.
Ah, the landscape starts to shift.
Yeah, and significantly. It wasn't just, a bit rockier. The author calls it a striking reflection of the endurance required to reach Nakfa.
Wow. So the land itself mirrors the effort.
That's how Simon Weldemikael frames it. He talks about the road climbing sharply, winding through these really rocky escarpments. The physical effort of just driving becomes, yeah, a metaphor almost.
A reflection of the historical endurance.
Exactly, etched into the land. It really makes you think, how can a landscape embody a spirit like that? The spirit of the people, their fight for freedom.
It's like the land itself is a narrator, silent but powerful, telling the story of past struggles, of the perseverance needed.
Yeah. And that leads us directly to Nakfa, the destination.
And Nakfa.
Yeah.
Well, it's presented as much more than just a town. The source calls it a city synonymous with resilience and sacrifice. It truly embodies, the spirit of Eritrea's resistance.
It's the heart of it, in a way.
You could say that. Its significance is just immense. The mountains surrounding it, they're described as having borne witness to the sacrifices made during the long struggle for independence.
So they're not just mountains, they're witnesses.
They're depicted almost as active participants, yeah. Silent watchers over decades of conflict. So, as the travelers got closer to Nakfa, the feeling changed. The air carried an unspoken reverence.
A sense of history, of weight.
Palpable respect, yeah.
Yeah.
It underlines that idea. Again, the journey wasn't just physical distance. It was moving through history, through collective emotion, through this unwavering determination and unity of the people.
Mm.
And when a place, a geographical spot, becomes such a potent national symbol, well, it does something powerful. It unites people around that shared past. It turns a physical space into like a living monument.
It helps a nation remember and draw strength.
Exactly. The land becomes a storehouse for national memory, for identity.
Yeah.
And it's not just remembering the past as history. It's the past being active, tangible, right there in the present. Shaping life, shaping resolve.
It really forces you to ask, like you said, what does it mean when your landscape constantly whispers these stories of sacrifice and resilience? How does that shape who you are as a people?
It's profound.
So Nakfa holds the spirit of resistance. But what makes it feel so potent, according to the account? Beyond just saying the mountains witness thing, how does a place get so deeply woven into the national essence?
That's a really good question. It's not just a passive backdrop. The travelogue suggests it's about how the stories connected to those mountains, their imposing nature, are actively passed down.
Ah, so it's actively kept alive.
Yes. Nakfa isn't just where history happened. It's portrayed as a living testament, constantly reinforcing that national identity. Maybe in a way that's less common today in many places.
Right.
The echoes of the struggle aren't just in books. The account implies you feel them in the wind. You see them in the rock formations. You hear them in the oral traditions.
The landscape itself is teaching.
Pretty much. The sheer difficulty of the terrain around Nakfa, its strategic importance during the war, and the incredible spirit of those who defended it all that seems to have left this indelible mark on the national psyche. It's an active narrator.
Wow. A constant physical reminder of the cost of freedom and the strength it took.
Exactly. Like a national classroom teaching resilience, constantly. And that connection, that intertwining of place and spirit, it becomes even clearer when the journey reveals Eritrea's cultural diversity.
Yes, the source really highlights this. The trip became a window into Eritrea's rich cultural tapestry. They encountered different communities, specifically mentioning the Bilan, the Tigray, and the Tigrinya ethnic groups.
So distinct cultures along the route.
Absolutely. And what's really key is that while each group was celebrating Independence Day in their own unique way, the author emphasizes they were all bound by the same spirit of national unity.
Unity and diversity literally playing out in front of them.
Precisely. It's not suggesting diversity is a problem for unity. It suggests it's the foundation of it, which is quite an inspiring model, really.
And the account gives specific examples of this, doesn't it? How did it look on the ground?
It does.
Yeah, the travelogue paints a really vivid picture here. For example, it mentions Bilan community members dressed in their colorful traditional attire, often very intricate weaving, bright patterns, unique to their heritage, mainly from the highlands.
Right.
And they weren't just standing around, they were actively singing songs of freedom and unity. Their voices, maybe accompanied by traditional instruments, filled the air with this vibrant energy.
And the Tigray group.
Further north, they encountered the Tiger ethnic group. Their celebrations were marked by rhythmic drumming and expressive dances, reflecting their strong heritage and unwavering national pride. The Tiger are often associated more with the northern plains, and they have their own rich oral traditions, distinct music.
Hmm.
And then, of course, there's the Tigrinya, the largest group whose culture is widespread. They contribute another huge layer with their own unique songs, dances, traditional clothes.
So different expressions, same core feeling.
Exactly. These specific examples really drive home the point that Eritrea's strength is found in its diversity. As the source says, every stop brought new faces, new customs, but the underlying message was consistent. Eritrea's unity is woven into its diversity.
It makes you really think about how that works. How do these distinct ways of celebrating end up strengthening the whole rather than pulling it apart?
It seems deeply tied to their shared history and understanding of nationhood. Difference is part of the collective identity, not separate from it.
It's fascinating. It's not just tolerance, it's like an active celebration of those differences within the bigger national framework.
Yes. And this naturally leads us to think about Independence Day itself, the day they're anticipating throughout this journey.
Right.
It's clearly positioned as more than just an event, more than a holiday. The source calls it an affirmation of Eritrea's journey, its victories, and unwavering hope for the future.
An affirmation. That's a strong word.
It is. And the people's deep sense of national sentiment is described as unique, not just strong, but distinctly Eritrean. It's portrayed as this continuous thread deeply woven into daily life, not just something switched on for a holiday.
Hmm.
And the observations from this whole journey reflect that deep unity and shared national pride being remarkably consistent right across Eritrea.
That constancy is striking.
It really is. This pervasive feeling, this emotional undercurrent, seems to be one of the core insights. It suggests an identity that isn't tied to just one place like the capital, but is a genuinely shared consciousness.
Yeah, it truly comes across that way.
Mhm.
Because, as the account stresses, whether they were in the busy streets of Asmara,
The capital's energy?
or in Karen with all its history,
Right.
or navigating that really rugged terrain heading towards Nakfa, the symbolic heartland, the core feeling, the emotion, it stayed the same.
Unchanged.
Unchanged. The spirit wasn't defined by the geography, but by, as the source says, something much greater, a profound sense of national identity.
Yeah.
And you have to picture how this manifested. Every dance filled with history and hope, every poem echoing past sacrifices, every flag waved as a symbol of freedom, every song sung even in different languages by Bailan, Tigray, Tigrinya communities, all echoing the same thing.
What was that core sentiment?
Gratitude, sincere gratitude for freedom, and this fierce determination to honor those who made it possible. It's this incredibly powerful image of a constant emotional flow through the whole nation.
A unity built on shared experience, shared memory.
Exactly.
And that constancy, that feeling, it's even highlighted in a specific, quite touching encounter they had in Alphabet, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, the breakfast stop.
Right. And they stopped for breakfast, just a normal thing on a long trip.
Mhm.
But it turned into something more. They were welcomed really warmly with genuine hospitality by a unit of the Eritrean Defense Forces stationed in the town.
Mhm.
And this wasn't just, a quick meal. The source calls their hospitality a poignant reminder of Eritrea's enduring spirit of kindness and service to others.
Especially in Alphabet, which also has its own major historical significance from the war.
Precisely. A site of a crucial victory. So this act of kindness there resonates even more. They shared conversations over breakfast. The details aren't given, but it clearly spoke volumes about that national spirit, the connection between the military and civilians.
Right.
It just shows how a simple act, hospitality, can reveal so much about national character, about values, especially in a place so steeped in history. It points to a culture where service, generosity, collective purpose are really embedded.
Part of that unity we keep seeing.
Exactly. A living example of the values forged in struggle.
And then after Alphabet, the journey takes yet another turn, becoming even more intense perhaps.
How so?
The terrain gets even harsher, the mountains become more pronounced, more dramatic, and the history, incredibly, feels even more tangible.
Wow. More tangible. How?
Well, this is where the author says, so what does this all mean? The very land becomes a storyteller. It's about the physical evidence becoming overwhelming. The rocky escarpments and rugged valleys aren't just scenery anymore. They're described as vivid reminders of the endurance of the freedom fighters who defended these hills for years.
The landscape as a living monument.
Exactly. Each peak, each valley whispering these stories of unbelievable perseverance, a silent narrative in the earth itself.
And are there actual physical remnants mentioned?
Yes, that's key. The land holds the scars.
The source explicitly mentions remnants of the 30-year War of Liberation, Eritrea's long fight for independence.
What kind of remnants?
Things like burned-out tanks, abandoned trenches, and scattered bullet casings. Still there, visible in the landscape.
Wow, decades later.
Decades later. And these aren't just museum pieces. They tell silent stories of battles that once raged, echoing the resilience and sacrifice of those who fought in these very landscapes.
Just driving past that.
Yeah. The traveler notes driving past these sites reminds you that the spirit of Eritrea is deeply ingrained in the land itself. It really makes you think, how does living with such visible, raw history shape a nation's psyche?
It must create this incredibly strong, constant connection to the past.
Every step is a step through history. It reinforces identity, collective memory almost daily. That tangible reminder fosters this unbreakable bond, between people, history, land, future hopes. The land isn't just where they live, it's an active part of their story.
A constant echo of the sacrifices made.
Precisely. Reminding people what their freedom cost.
And that leads to that beautiful phrase in the account. The mountains seem to speak of perseverance.
It captures it perfectly, doesn't it?
It really does. You just imagine living somewhere where every hill, every valley holds these tales of sacrifice, of eventual triumph. It must instill this profound resilience, this pride, knowing the ground beneath your feet witnessed it all.
It makes the connection almost sacred, forged in that struggle.
Yeah. Not abstract history, but a living presence.
So after all that, they finally arrive in Nakfa.
The destination.
And the feeling upon arrival. The source says the air felt heavier with meaning.
Understandable, the culmination of everything. Not just relief at finishing the drive, but the weight of all they'd seen and felt, concentrated in this symbolic place. And what's really striking is the repetition. The emotions we had felt in Asmara, Karen, Afabed, and many more settlements along the way remained unchanged.
That constancy again.
That unwavering pride, the national sentiment flowing right through from Asmara's lively streets to Nakfa's historic mountains. It underlines that consistency, that shared experience uniting the country. Nakfa is like the epicenter of that spirit they witnessed everywhere.
And in Nakfa itself, it all comes together visually, too. The mountains that once sheltered freedom fighters now stood as a testament to their victory.
Not just geology, but monuments to struggle and success.
Exactly. And for the traveler, Weldemikael, being there right then on the eve of Independence Day, it clearly had a huge personal impact.
What did he say about it?
He reflected that the journey gave him a clearer picture of how far Eritrea has come and how far it can go.
That's powerful. Recognizing the past achievement and the future potential. Right. Resilience forged in the past, powering the future. It really shows that sometimes to understand a nation, you need more than facts. You need to feel its soul, even if it's through someone else's eyes, like in this travelogue.
Absolutely. And if we try to, connect this to the bigger picture, what does this journey ultimately show us? It shows that history isn't just static, something you study in books or see in museums. It's alive. It breathes through the people, through the landscape itself.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic force shaping today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
The ultimate realization, the key takeaway perhaps, is that Eritrea's past, present, and future are deeply intertwined. And crucially, its people carry the unwavering spirit of a nation that will never falter.
That unwavering spirit.
So what does that kind of enduring national spirit really imply about a people's collective resolve? It suggests this incredibly strong bond, forged by shared sacrifice, celebrated in triumph, a sense of self that stands firm against challenges.
It's a unique perspective on national steadfastness, isn't it? Drawing strength from roots, from place, from history.
Yes. That deep connection becomes this powerful engine for resilience, for collective action.
So yeah, what we've really unpacked today, it's been much more than just a travel story.
Definitely a deep dive.
A deep dive into a nation's heart, right as it prepared to celebrate its identity. We saw that seamless blend of history and current celebration, the strength that comes from diversity, and this profound, unwavering national feeling that's literally rooted in the land. It gives us this unique angle on how national identity is forged, how it's kept alive, how it's celebrated, not just in big official ways, but in every village, every shared meal, every flag, every song.
That collective spirit.
Yeah, it defines them.
And that leaves us, and you the listener, with something pretty profound to think about, doesn't it?
Go on.
What does it truly mean for a people when their identity is so deeply intrinsically linked to their physical landscape and their specific history of struggle and victory? How might that connection, that constant, tangible reminder of their journey etched into the mountains and valleys, how might that shape their future, their resilience against new problems, their ongoing sense of who they are in a world that's always changing?
Hmm. That's a big
It
question.
is. But it shows how journeys, even ones we only read about or hear about like this, can offer these incredible insights into different cultures and maybe into the human spirit itself.